All right, everybody, apologies for the technical issues we had there. My internet decided to kill itself. So we are back here, and we were on lap number 12 out of 85. Going to resume this here as Kevin Harvick continues to lead. Got to get back in the groove here. 20, 48, 44, your top three, as Wimmer and McMurray in the top five had joined up with the leaders here. We're just reviewing an accident a couple of laps ago as well that did not get caught here. This was between the 50, 88, 17 on the front stretch where they were fixing to go four wide into turn number one. 50 couldn't quite get away from the 5 of Hendrick, who was up there, and 88 went up into the 50 and turned him down into the 17 of Kenseth, who was on the bottom. A little bit of damage on the right front of that 17 DeWalt machine. Running around 30th right now. We were just talking about the struggle of the year he had had up to this point before the broadcast went south.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, when you don't have that confidence and you're just puttering around with no real direction, it's very, very, very difficult to get back in form because you have nothing to go off of. Your whole season has been a struggle, so there's no real place to build.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been just trying to find something to build off of, and as mentioned, they were sub 30th in owners' points at this point in the season, which is a real dangerous spot to be in. You don't want to DNQ a race, make it even worse, fill sponsor obligations, and Kenseth is doing his best to try and make up some points. He's made a few positions up since that incident, so seeming like the damage isn't affecting him too much. He's in 26th right now. One car a bit of a ways in front of him right now that I was eyeing is a couple of the drivers who started fairly well and have fallen backwards. Christian Elder outside the top 20 in the zero car, as well as Hornaday, who is down to 18th, now 19th at the moment, I believe it is. Yes, it is, so a bit of a struggle fight for them. All these Roush cars are right together. The rest of the 5 Roush cars are all in one place from 15th through 18th. That's Burton, Biffle, Edwards, and John Wood in order. Right behind Tony Stewart in the 42 car, and this top group still pretty close. Battle for the lead is between Harvick and Johnson. 20 holding off that 48 right now.
And it has to be said, Jimmy Johnson, frankly, has been inevitable this season.
Absolutely.
Back from injury, the question was, would he still be the same Jimmy Johnson? I'd say no, he isn't the same Jimmy Johnson. He's a better Jimmy Johnson, and he is going for the race lead right here.
He dips down low, and he's trying to get the run on Tony Stewart, and he's got that grip. Side by side, he's going to lead this lap. But can he clear him going into one? And yes, he does.
Harvick v. Johnson for the lead. Johnson with his first lap lead, first lead change of the day. Harvick way on the top of the racetrack, trying to find some grip up there. Still a dead heat down the back stretch.
Harvick definitely found some grip on that outside lane. He's trying to make the most of it going off 3 and 4. But Johnson has a better line on the inside for 3 and 4.
Looked like Harvick tried to squeeze him going into 3, thought better of it mid-corner. Johnson able to clear back up. We'll see if Harvick tries that same line again. Seemed to work for him.
Looking like he'll duck in
He does not.
Johnson just a little bit further ahead into turn one that time than he was the last time through. How about this 23 of Wimmer, who's pulled into third place ahead of Vickers? Has his sights set on the 2 race leaders right now and doing his best to try and catch up to them.
And we can see Harvick's now taking advantage of that 3 and 4 line, but now Johnson's starting to pull away.
Cut it a little too tight, think he got tight down there, and that 48 just ran away from him out of the corner.
Potentially hit a bump as well. We got to remember, at this point in time, this racetrack starting to get pretty bumpy out here. There's been talks of a repave. Not sure if it's going to happen yet, but the pavement definitely aging here, and you see it later in runs as they try to move up further up the racetrack to stay out of those bumps and also take care of their tires.
Absolutely. So Harvick dropping a long ways off now that Johnson has ran away into the race lead. Scott Wimmer in that 23 car is closing in on Harvick for P number 2. Could be a battle brewing here between the 20 and 23. Vickers not too far behind in the 4th position. Casey Kane has joined this mix in the 38. He runs in the 6th position. Looking quick right now as we're seeing a bit of a train start to form from 2nd through 6th.
So I do have to say, what do we need repaves for anyway? Oh, they're going to run a lot faster along the track, but the thing is, when you have a track like Las Vegas that I opened back in like 1996, 97, I believe, so about 10 years of worn pavement, it makes it more and more of a driver's track as it goes on. They have to manage their tires, but they still have to figure out what lane works best, like that fight we saw with Harvick and Johnson. It'd just be a travesty to see what would happen if they paid.
Hard to say, but nonetheless, the drivers do really like this racetrack. It's just been a rumor that's circulating around them, and some of them have seemed a little against it. At least at the moment, this surface still surfaceable. Harvick's found some second win. He's catching up to the 48 of Johnson to try and make a second challenge for that lead back. As he pulls up to the back bumper off of turn 2, gonna look low. Heading towards turn 3, couple of Chevrolets for this race lead. Johnson holds him off for now.
That 20 just appeared. That 20 just appeared to have some crazy center corner speed. Was able to pull right to the back bumper of Johnson, and now is going to look to the inside.
Side by side for the lead as they head down towards turn number 1, 20-48. As Harvick looking to take his lead back, and he very well might have it here, but Johnson's got some breath on the outside, trying to stay with him as they come off the corner.
And the longer they fight, the more it's going to bring this 23 of Wimmer right up to this battle for the race lead. And that car has had some very, very good speed for the past few laps. He has steadily started to reel in these guys. It'd be interesting to see what he could do with some clean air.
Seemed like the 48 pulled off a little bit there on entry in turn 3. He got a little bit of a bobble. Had a better exit, but couldn't quite take full advantage. Harvick a little bit out of the throttle as they come out of 2. Johnson with a chance to counterattack down the backstretch.
As Wimmer continues to reel in closer and closer. I would be interested to see what he could do with some clean air because he has been very, very quick.
And don't forget Casey Kane. He's starting to get past Brian Vickers for that 4th place spot. Really good day for him.
Couple of
very
drivers,
much so.
Young drivers side by side there for P number 4, but Vickers will hold off the 38 for the moment. The top 5, 6 or more still very close here, and more drivers slowly pulling up to this front group for the lead. Johnson still trying to get past the 20 for first.
Casey Kane's story in 5th. Casey's story very well known. Came into the series last year and immediately fought for a championship. It was extremely impressive. Didn't quite get the championship, but nonetheless has yet to find victory lane. And people have started to ask him, Casey, when are you going to win? And it's very hard as a driver to answer, I don't know. And Casey has become agonizingly close plenty of times. Could today finally be the day? It's hard to say as pit stops are underway.
And Kane takes divisional lead against Brian Vickers that lap.
Pit stops beginning here on lap number 27 for those guys that came in, coming to lap number 28. The 38 is taken now. Top 3 under a blanket as they head down pit road. First of many coming up as Harvick leads everybody into the the pit boxes here on the left in this pit cycle. And caution flag has come out. Parker Jr. and Labonte in turn 3. Another accident for the 4 car who is heavily damaged on the rear, and that brings out a crucial caution flag. Kyle Busch in the 43 car has stayed out to take the lead.
Did he lap the field?
Imagine he would pit here. So the caution flag comes out. Get a look back at this incident here between the 18, one of the top 5 or so in the points going into this race, involved in an accident with the 4 of Parker Jr.
So let's see, does Parker pull down to get into the pits? Yes, he does.
Almost had it saved too.
Hard
impact for the 18.
as a major impact for Bobby Labonte.
Yeah, you just see it for trying to cut down. Didn't know the 18 was there, and vicious impact for the 18 of Bobby Labonte.
You'd have to think that Parker was trying to signal to Bobby down the backstretch, like, hey, I'm going to pit. Gotta look out, Bobby. And he still goes down to make the aggressive move, and it sends Parker around, and then Bobby just teeters straight onto that wall. Thankfully, there was a safer barrier right there.
Absolutely a hard accident, so that'll bring out our first caution of the night. Kyle Busch, I believe, was the only driver still out on the racetrack. No, Stanton Barrett in the 95 as well was a driver still out there. So that'll bring out an interesting set here as everybody's going to be waved around, I would imagine, as race leader Kyle Busch will come in for his pit stop, and all the rest of these guys who are trapped a lap down will be waved around in front of the race leader in that 43 car. Stanton Barrett in the 95 into the pits as well. So, under caution in the middle of the pit cycle, and Kyle Busch in the 43 should be your race leader here. Just into the 30s of the lap count, lap number 30 for Busch right now. We'll take it to intermission here from Las Vegas, under caution for the first time. Back from intermission here at Vegas, and this shuffle in the field is definitely a big one, as Casey Kane will be the race leader. Everybody's still on the lead lap here, but a little bit of shuffling throughout the field resulted from that caution flag. The 43 car of Kyle Busch will be restarting in the 18th spot, despite having the lead at the yellow flag. Top 5 goes Kane, Busch, Vickers, Gordon, and Stewart. The 2 main race leaders so far, Harvick and Johnson, are 7th and 8th. Right behind them is Wimmer in 9th. Getting set to take the restart here as we will take lap number 33 at the line. With Kane going to lead the field to the restart here. Was fast here last time out, despite the heartbreak last season that pretty much ended his championship challenge. But nonetheless, leader here on lap number 33, and we are back green. Good start for him and Kurt Busch from first and second. Couple of drivers trying to jump on the early opportunity. Johnson gets underneath Harvick, Newman underneath Stewart. That's for 5th as he gets past the 42 car. 20 of Harvick, on the other hand, trying to fight a little bit more on the outside versus the 48. Those 2 racing through turn 3.
You'd have to imagine that both of them aren't exactly happy with the way that caution transpired, because the 48, 20, and 23 were pretty gone for the most part. I mean, they seem to be clearly the fastest 3, and now are stuck in traffic and have to work their way back forward.
Stewart with an advantageous move there, went up the middle of 3 wide, got underneath the 24 of Gordon, who's starting to slip backwards on the outside line just a little bit, trying to find his groove right now. Meanwhile, battle for the lead is brewing between Kane and Kurt Busch. Here's the 0-1 on the bottom side of the 38.
Stewart making a move for 3rd place now on Brian Vickers. As the battle for the lead rages on, Stewart had to lift out of the throttle for 3rd. Still side-by-side for the race lead. Kane with a slight advantage into 3. But we've seen the bottom prevail for a lot of the day so far on N3 and 4, but not this time. Casey Kane able to clear on the top side. Think you might start to see the groove move up a little bit.
50 laps to go this time by. Kane is trying to hold off Kurt Busch, and he's provided a 1 car length lead against himself. No one's really been able to pull away today as this race has gone on. And it's been like we've had so many different lead changes. Every corner, every straightaway has felt like a drag race to the line just to achieve the lead, because they all know what that preferred line is. And here's another example of a drag race as Kurt Busch tries to drag down low and still can't make the pass against Casey Kane right here, with Tony Stewart now lurking right behind in 3rd, trying to get by his teammate.
Gonna go around the outside this 42 car. Here comes Tony Stewart with a head of steam real quick right now. Had to come out of the throttle just a bit. Almost made it work, though. Couple of Ganassi cars fighting for 2nd behind Kane, who still comfortably leads this race.
Those Ganassi cars having a very good showing today. And they needed something like this, a good run.
Absolutely. They've had a great start to the season so far, just trying to bring in some pace. A couple of problems for them at the start of the year. They've picked it up a little bit later, though. And Kane, kind of contrasting his teammates, Junior and Martin, both a long way down the order. Those guys have spent a lot of the portion of this day, especially Martin, who had a tire go down under that caution, who's around 40th right now. The 88 has gone nowhere. He's still stuck outside the top 30. So Kane bringing some promise to this Yates garage right now. The only one of them who's been competitive today, and as we mentioned, still looking for that first Cup win, and looks as strong today as he has ever.
And as I said earlier, it's getting harder for Casey Kane mentally to be asked when you're going to win, and you just say, I don't know. That's so hard for a driver. Casey's wanted to get the monkey off his back for so long, just hasn't had the opportunity. Today is a very good opportunity. That 38, extremely quick. If he could do it, look for plenty more to follow after it. The first one's always hard to get, but once you do it, the floodgates open.
Absolutely. Kane, of course, no easy task right now. He's got a couple of teammates right behind him, Kurt Busch and two-time Cup champion Tony Stewart right behind, who hung the title over the 38's head last year. So really got his mirror full at the moment. Two of the drivers he spent all season long last year fighting for that championship and ultimately fell to the 42. But really doing his best right now, has led a handful of laps in a row, and despite taking the lead opportunistic under that caution, definitely hasn't given it up yet and has the car under him to hold that top spot. Kevin Harvick, one of the more dominant cars of the day, has also started to catch up to this top three. But right now, Kurt Busch trying to go for the lead on the 38 again.
And they're side by side as they try to get into turn one. Can he pull it off? No, he runs out of momentum. And Kane once again gets by him. Whatever Kane's got on that outside line through 1 and 2 is very strong. I feel like Kurt Busch is actually holding up Tony Stewart right now, and I think that he could make a run for the lead. Especially now that his former ride at JGR, Kevin Harvick, is going right behind Tony Stewart.
Yeah, I was about to say, don't look now, but that 20 and the 48, they're starting to move their way back through as this run goes forward.
Side by side again, and Kane once again pulls away from Kurt Busch. He can't complete the pass, and Tony's gotten impatient. He's going to dive bomb the turn one on Kurt. Can he complete a pass? And Tony stalls out.
Tell you what, these guys know something about the outside that we don't. Casey Kane been holding everybody off on the outside. Now Kurt Busch overpowers his teammate on the top line. Here is Harvick to try to get underneath the 42. Can he make it stick on the bottom? He might be able to. No, not quite. Had to get out of the throttle in the dirty air.
Harvick is not being patient at all right now as Tony's starting to hold off Kevin Harvick. So Kurt Busch can try and make a pass on Casey Kane. Lots of CGR team politics right now.
Here comes the 01 back on the bottom, 38 and 01, who have been trying to fight for this lead these last 5 or so laps. Can Busch get in front of him this time, trying to put the power down and put the rear end in front of that 38, who just doesn't give up. Still side by side as they head down the backstretch.
But for once, Kurt Busch has momentum. He's got the edge on Kane. Can he do it? He's pulling the throttle down and he clears him. Kurt Busch, your new leader at Las Vegas. Can he hold on?
40 laps to go. 01's got first. Kane drops back to second place in a Chip Ganassi sandwich now, though Stewart a little bit of a ways off in third. Harvick himself has dropped off from fourth. Johnson trying to get that piece back under him after Kevin Harvick pulled away from him for the fourth position a little bit. Has found that groove. Top 5 might be under a blanket here in just a little bit. Kane trying to close back up on Kurt Busch for first right now.
Yeah, certainly Kane not going away. Needs to regroup after losing the lead to Kurt Busch, who Kurt Busch has had a very strong start to this season. Maybe a little underrated in the garage area right now, in my opinion.
I think that Casey Kane might have burnt up his tires trying to defend from Kurt Busch. Once again, I mentioned before, this is a track where you need to start conserving tires as the pavement begins to age throughout all the year. And Kurt Busch definitely bided his time wearing out Casey Kane just so he could make that pass for the lead when Kane just finally ran out of grip right there. And now we see Kurt Busch pulling away.
Kurt pulling away, but Kane not exactly letting him out of his sights. We've seen this a little bit today where some guys will start to pull away from each other, but a few laps later, that gap will shrink again. It's been a game of cat and mouse throughout the field today. And as I say it, Kane's starting to pull back to the back bumper of the 01.
Got so good there in turn 3.
Seems like
right there.
Seems like maybe he started to realize he was pushing his tires too much. And now, ready to push again, and he's going to go to the inside for the race lead.
Side by side for first. You saw Jimmy Johnson and Kevin Harvick side by side for fourth, a little bit of a ways back there. Couple battles in the top 5. Tony Stewart, the 42, pulling up on the back bumper, trying to take it 3 wide for the race lead. Busch clear on the outside. Now side by side for second place.
And at the same time through 1 and 2, Kurt Busch slammed that door on Casey Kane. That let Tony Stewart get by, and now Kane, 1 lap trying to fight for the lead. Now he's all the way back down to third.
perfectly executed gambit there by Chip Ganassi, but Casey Kane, who's been so good on the outside, trying to go around the top on the 42, at the very least held him there as they come off the corner, still side by side, just got the nose up on the top of the 42 car in a turn 3.
Well, Kevin Harvick right back into this battle. As Jimmy Johnson now starting to pull away from the cars he was racing before. Car maybe starting to come to the 48 here.
Finding some speed in the middle run. It's Gordon, Newman, and Vickers for 6th, a bit of a ways off of this top 5, who have all been fighting. Big recovery drive by Ricky Hendrick, who's joined these guys in the top 10, runs into 9th position right now, as well as Martin Truex Jr. in 10th, who started this racing dead last in the 8 car. He's had a good recovery drive in that good wrench Chevrolet. Moved up into 10th right in front of his teammate Robbie Gordon, who works on him for that position. But still, these leaders so close, and Kane back around in front of the 42.
Kurt Busch and Tony Stewart are doing their best to keep away from Casey Kane and Kevin Harvick, and now Jimmy Johnson in the mix. Can this dynamic duo pull off a Chip Ganassi Racing 1-2 at the end of the day? I have no clue, but I feel certain that the Las Vegas native Kurt Busch could actually win at his home track today.
It's very possible, but we do have another pit stop. So that completely turned this race upside down from where it was before. While a lot of the fast guys have made their way back through the field, it's been definitely a different race since those pit stops and the caution that ensued in the middle of that. So definitely have to watch out for that. And also, if it does go green through the pit cycles, you have to make sure not to slip a tire coming to pit road, not to miss your box. Just have the full 9 yards, because if you mess up, yes, you can gain time back, but it is very, very hard once you have a bad pit stop to get your mojo back. And we've seen it plenty of times before.
Absolutely, and one thing worth noting, bring a bit of analytics into this as we're approaching 30 to go. Expecting this pit stop in just a couple laps here. It could very well be tight on fuel. We will see exactly when these guys are planning to pit, but coming up on it soon. Fuel run is around 27 to 29 laps, so they're getting close on cutting it here, expecting that pit stop soon. Not exactly sure when we're going to get it, and here comes Kane for the race lead.
Battle for the lead has been magnificent. It's just been a matter of who blinks first.
And Kane does have the momentum. He's going to have the pass going into 3 and 4, but Kurt was really trying to hold him off.
Tell you what,
He's
that
trying
01
to
drove it
pitch
in there
down.
in 3, and he got him back.
Kurt
But
drove
Kane's
it
got the
in,
run
pinned it
on
on the
corner exit. Here
door.
comes the 38 back at him.
Tony Stewart getting pulled right back into this battle. We'll see what he does to help his teammate, or if he does something to help himself.
Kane is starting to figure out the pattern of these CGR drivers right now and what their game is, because he's been trying to pull distance between him and Kurt, because every time he starts fighting for the lead against him,
Man, he went on those brakes.
Casey Kane absolutely fired it into the
But
corner.
he's going to pit this time, so the 01 stays out, and Kane, with that heavy braking, wasn't even going for an overtake. He comes into the pits with 30 to go.
I think Kane was definitely getting desperate. Was definitely getting desperate at the end.
So we will be kind of tight on fuel here. We see Busch stay out. Jeff Gordon in the 24 inherits second for the moment, with his teammate Vickers right behind, as well as another teammate Hendrick. Might we see the 01 come in this time, looking like he's ducking to the bottom of the racetrack, and he will be coming to pit road here. See if anyone stays out. 24 and 12 do. 28 laps to go, so again, these guys are going to cut it real tight here. As these two race leaders will stay out, Jeff Gordon leads his first lap of the night inside the final 30 laps of this race.
Mentioning, Jeff Gordon hasn't had winning speed, has been kind of in the bottom half of the top 10. But they've had some strategy masterclasses this season.
No question about it.
With him pinning this time, we'll see what that does for him.
2 and 43, so both the Penske cars and the 43 of Busch, who stayed out long on the first run, also going to be in. Looking like Casey Kane will cycle into the net race lead a little bit of a ways ahead of the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. Trying to find these guys on the racetrack. Kurt Busch leaving the pits there.
Kurt Busch going to leave well behind where he was.
Unsurprising given how much tire fall off we've seen, about a second and a half or more. So he drops down to 4th. Jimmy Johnson moves up a position. It's going to be Robbie Gordon in net P5, and that 20 of Harvick fell a long ways backwards.
About somebody who's had a good season, but quietly, Robbie Gordon. He's done a great job, hasn't won a race, and hasn't necessarily contended that much for a race win.
Excuse you, actually. That 31 did win back-to-back times, as a matter of fact. Both times in Australia, yes.
He did. Yeah, I was not there for that. So,
yes,
Robbie Gordon, very good.
Nonetheless, 38 car Casey Kane going to take back that race lead this time, I believe. And yes, he does. So the 38 in first. Tony Stewart going to be right behind him, who's given him a tough challenge all day long. Jimmy Johnson, the 48, silently lurking right behind the 2 race leaders. He's in 3rd. Kurt Busch in the 4th position. And Robbie Gordon in that 31 car sits in 5th. Ricky Hendrick also had a pretty good pit stop. He's 6th. 7th belongs to Truex Jr., who's had a fantastic recovery drive here today. Jimmy McMurray, who was up front at the start of the race towards the top 5, sits in the 8th position. Kevin Harvick trying to recover after a bit of a poor pit stop there. Ran his best lap at the race last time by. He sits in 9th, and Brian Vickers rounds out the top 10. Dale Jr. also has come back alive in the back half of this race. He's in 11th. Worth noting him as well. And Jeff Gordon, who stayed out long, a little bit of a ways outside the top 10. He's 13th right now. So running back through this race with Casey Kane comfortably in the lead. 25 coming to 24 laps to go for that Yahoo Ford, who sits out in front here in Vegas.
And Kane has held a steady lead over Tony Stewart, but as we have seen, that gap will gain, that gap will shrink. Right now, it's in the gaining portion of that, but do not be surprised if Tony Stewart reels him back in. That's just kind of in the nature of this race.
Laps continuing to wind down. The top 3 fairly separated at the moment as Kane has left a bit of a gap to Stewart, who was 6/10 slower that last time by. Jimmy Johnson a 10th slower than Kane, but a lot faster than the 42. So trying to catch up to him for the 2nd spot right now. Kurt Busch looking to recoup and reel these guys back in from the 4th position. Ricky Hendrick just got past Robbie Gordon for 5th. Those two deadlocked in a battle for the last spot in the top 5 at the moment. Lawrence Truex Jr. running a little bit of a ways off in 7th. And Harvick in a battle with the 44 of Vickers for the 9th position at the moment. Dale Jr., who has had a sudden burst of pace in the long run of this race, down deep in the laps, pulling up to maybe salvage a top 10 run despite running around 30th, 35th all day long. Seeing Yates coming alive late as well. We saw the 28 a little bit of a ways back in frame. It is only 20th, but good recovery for him after having the tire go down and coming back up despite being 40th at one point in this race. So a good run for him late. He's trying to bring it alive, bring something back into it. Big battle here for 9th and 10th.
Big time move from Dale Jr., who was running on the top lane, pulling right down in front of Jeff Gordon, as we're going 3 wide down into turn 3.
24 didn't take too kindly to that. He ducks to the bottom, coming to 20 to go at the line this time, trying to move back into the top 10 on fresher tires since he stayed out longer. So Gordon making up a couple positions here as he moves in front of the 88 and 20.
Kevin Harvick had such a good run coming in today, and now he's starting to burn out as the Hendrick crew and even Robert Yates is trying to start getting by him.
Side by side between Gordon and Harvick for the 10th position, right behind Gordon's teammate Vickers, and he'll try to get underneath him for 9th. Side by those two as they come off of turn 4, but Vickers powering around the outside. Can't quite get away from him as Gordon trying to look low back towards turn 1. See if he'll play nice with his teammate, and he will. Being patient with that 44 car. Meanwhile, up front, Kane still has a mirror full of his title rival from last season, as well as Johnson in the 48, the points leader. Just a little bit of a ways back, trying to maintain that gap late in this race.
I'd like to give a shout out to Martin Truex Jr., who started in last in this race, is running in 7th as a rookie. A fantastic run for someone who has a lot to prove to team owners. Very, very great run for Martin Truex today.
Now, I could be wrong, but another big shout out I want to give to is the 00 of Jason Leffler, who I believe recovered very high up, almost near dead last in the field, as well as Martin. And he's made it all the way up to P13 in his equipment, which is really impressive for him today.
Absolutely.
He's
Leffler's
going
been turning
to
some heads.
P12.
So straight past the 88 of Dale Jr., that 00. Really on the move right now. And yeah, as you mentioned, really climbed the order. Jason Leffler has a lot to prove himself as well. Looking like it's going to be his last part-time season. He signed a contract extension, I believe, or is in the works of maybe signing one, looking to maybe go full-time in Cup next year. And is doing a good job for Haas CNC, his team. Running in the 12th position right now ahead of the 88 of Dale Jr. and has really come alive late in this one. Seeing a lot of comers and goers here from Las Vegas. And Martin Truex Jr. just got past his Childress teammate Robbie Gordon for 6th, continuing to climb the table.
I do have to say, when you make runs like that, like Jason Leffler's been making, those are the kinds that make you say, I'm ready for full time. You can put me, that's how you put yourself on the map in this Cup Series.
Here comes Truex on Ricky Hendrick in the 5, looking for 5th. Couldn't quite get the nose underneath him, but still trying to challenge to move forward and coming to 15 to go this time by. With the race leaders all under a blanket right now, has really come alive late in this thing.
As this race progresses, you're starting to see some guys fall off and some guys find some speed that they didn't have earlier in this going. Truex very nearly was able to clear Hendrick, but Hendrick got a burst of speed on the outside, was able to power back past, but definitely going to be an interesting one right down to the wire.
Battle for the lead is heating up. Here comes Tony Stewart on Casey Kane with Jimmy Johnson right in the mix in the 48 car inside the final 15 laps.
And Jimmy Johnson's here to spoil the party, but we got to know Kurt Busch is back.
Kane got real loose from 3rd.
Kurt Busch came back from a bad pit stop and cycle to reel himself back up against the leaders, and he has 3 cars to get through that are in the way from him and getting his home track win.
I'm Casey Kane. And if I'm Casey Kane, I'm like, what just happened? Because I was leading the race a lap before and now have slipped down to 4th place.
And Kurt Busch makes it a chicken-assy 1-2. He's clearing Jimmy. He's going for the lead. Inside on Tony Stewart. Is he going to make the dive?
Didn't quite have the brakes for it. Tony Stewart holds off his teammate, but Busch trying to find some grip in the middle of the corner. Still deadlocked in the battle with Johnson. Here he comes for the race lead off at turn 4.
If I'm either one of these Ganassi guys, I don't want to fight for too long because the last thing you want is Jimmy Johnson to get underneath both of you and ruin your chance at a top 2 or a 1-2 finish.
Is Kurt Busch, and he will not be denied today as he pulls away from his teammate and Jimmy Johnson going into 3 and 4 with only 11 laps to go this time by.
Couple of Cup champions battling for 2nd place behind Kurt Busch. Stewart with the run on the outside. Kane trying to recoup after he lost a ton of time, losing that lead all the way down to 4th. Not out of it yet, but a little bit of a ways back. 11 laps to go. Battle for the 5th position is still between Hendrick, Robbie Gordon, and Truex, all the 8 a little bit of a ways off from 7th now. And problems for the 95 of Stanton Barrett, who is going to stop on the racetrack, and that is going to bring out a race-changing caution flag.
I must say, why don't you pull it down pit road there? You're right next to pit road. You know you're having an issue. Why keep it on the racetrack?
I think his suspension.
Seeing collapsed suspension there on that race car, I think he probably had an issue trying to get it down to pit road, couldn't turn it. So that brings out a race-altering yellow, and we are under caution with 10 laps to go. That changes everything.
And we had a decent amount of laps on those tires. It'll be interesting to see if these guys pit or not.
Yeah, and we were talking about fuel mileage, so we will see if anybody's intending on pitting here. Doesn't look like that's the case here for all of the race leaders. Pretty much everybody going to stay out here, so it's looking like it's track position for these guys that they're looking for, and the whole field going to stay out here. So we'll take you to intermission. Under caution here, inside the final 10 laps, Kurt Busch at his home track, leading over his teammate Tony Stewart. We'll be right back here from Las Vegas late in the running. Back from intermission here at Vegas as we get set to do this late race restart. It'll be 6 laps to go on the restart. Kurt Busch in the race lead at his home track. It'll be Stewart, Johnson, Kane, and Hendrick, the top 5, getting ready to go here as we are late in the going in this one. Couple of Ganassi teammates to lead the field to the green here. And this will be very, very, very dicey. It's anyone's game now, as the pace car will peel off here, coming off of turn number 4. 0142, couple of teammates up front. Who comes out on top late here in Vegas? Race number 9, Kurt Busch in the lead, 6 to go. We are back green here from Las Vegas. Great start by Stewart and Johnson. Both of them getting a little dicey on the start. Kane ducks underneath the 48. Here comes Tony Stewart towards turn 1.
And Kurt's got to learn what he learned from Kane. Can he block from the outside? And he does. Kurt holding
clear.
the line.
Down the back stretch into turn number 3 as Kurt Busch gets clear on that outer line, but he is not out of the thick of it just yet with the woods he's got to get out of and navigate out of with all this traffic. His teammate down on the bottom with 5 laps to go with Casey Kane in tow in the 38. Side by side by the 2 Dodges for first as they enter turn 1. And Tony Stewart clear for the race lead.
All race long, CGR, Kurt Busch, Tony Stewart have played nice with each other, and at this time, this is where all bets are off. Tony's got to go, go, go now. He does not care about any alliances this point on.
Kane gonna try to clear for second. Not quite clear, but is going to be down into turn 1. Casey Kane, can he finally do it? Can he get the monkey off his back? He's waited so long, has come tantalizingly close, running second right now. If he
Got
could
the
get
run!
this done, it would be a monumentally popular win if he could take this thing home.
Jimmy Johnson nearly took it 3 wide in the middle into turn 3. New leader, Casey Kane. 48-42 got a run.
Now Kane has to be the one blocking.
Johnson
Jimmy
goes
Johnson
low.
with a run.
Kane's got to do what he's been doing all race long, and he can't block from the outside. Johnson slips by. Tony Stewart getting that run on the inside. Kurt Busch waiting.
Had a run out of the corner down the backstretch. What a run by that Yahoo Ford on the outside. 3 of the sport's best under a blanket for the race lead. Johnson with the nose into turn number 3.
Kane with a
Kane
big
around
run
the
on the
outside.
outside.
He clears him.
2 laps to go this time by.
Huge run from Casey Kane. Clears by 3 car lengths. Tony Stewart down to the bottom.
Kurt Busch pushing with Tony. Can they get by Johnson?
Johnson now trying the top. Saw what Kane did. Wants to try it himself. Had to get out of the gas. Stewart now to the bottom lane.
Side by
Kane
side for
cleared by
second.
3. Kane just looking out of his windshield right now. Don't focus
The
on
38 car is out of fuel. Casey Kane into the pits. The second year running. Tony Stewart takes the lead. Battle between him and Busch for the lead on the last lap.
On the inside. Can he get him? Can Tony block? Tony's blocking.
Unbelievable! 42 and 01, 2 teammates out of turn 2 down the backstretch for the last lap. Which one of them comes out on top as they head towards turn 3? 42 and 01, Tony Stewart clear on the outside. It's a replay of last year, and Tony Stewart against Kane, who runs out, wins his first for Ganassi here in Vegas. I cannot believe what I just saw.
CGR 1-2. Tony Stewart, Kurt Busch.
Unbelievable! Kane again out of fuel!
And is going to come up in the 36th position. Unbelievable.
Heartbreak for the second year in a row!
And if I'm Casey Kane, I'm wondering, what do I have to do? He ran a perfect race. Absolutely textbook race. And just runs out a lap shy of his first win.
I cannot believe that. Unbelievable. And Tony Stewart, just like it happened a year ago, the exact same fashion in which Casey Kane lost last year's championship, Tony Stewart, the driver who took advantage and took his 8th win of the season that year, comes home to do it again, and he collects his first victory for new team Chip Ganassi Racing in the 42 car. I just cannot believe that. Casey Kane, who made such an amazing move to take away the race lead and was a mile and a half from victory, out of fuel on the last lap again.
I would have fired that crew chief by now, I'm not gonna lie.
Unbelievable.
There has to be a curse on that 38 or something. I mean, that is just the poorest of luck.
Unbelievable. And it is like poetry. Tony Stewart wins it the exact same way that he did in last year's event. Back-to-back times at this racetrack, and the 42 car of Tony Stewart, his first win for Chip Ganassi, and he comes out on top ahead of the 01 and 48, 2 of his biggest rivals, and all 3 of these guys some of the best in the sport. And it's a Ganassi 1-2 here tonight, as it'll be 42 and 01 in consecutive order at the end of this race. I cannot believe that. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Tony Stewart, the 42 car, your race winner here tonight. That will do it here from Las Vegas. Heartbreak for the 38 and jubilation for the 42 team. Tony Stewart wins it, and that'll do it. We'll catch you next time. On behalf of Nate and Trey in the booth with me tonight, I'm Caden Reif. We'll catch you next time, and as always, have yourself a good one.
It's a long way to the top.